Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. I'm really excited to have my friend Roy here. We've been friends for a long time. He's a member of Investor Fuel, and he's doing a lot of deals, a lot of high profit deals, and he's monetizing a lot of his deals in some unique ways sometimes. A lot of our deals, leads you might be passing on, really can be monetized if you get a little bit creative, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
Professional real estate investors know that it's not really about the real estate. In fact, real estate is just a vehicle to freedom. A group of over 100 of the nation's leading real estate investors from across the country meet several times a year at the Investor Fuel Real Estate Mastermind to share ideas on how to strengthen each other's businesses, but also to come together as friends and build more fulfilling lives for all of those around us. On today's show, we're going to continue our conversation of fueling our businesses and fueling our lives. I'm glad you're here.
Hey, Roy, welcome to the show, buddy.
Hey, how you doing, Mike?
Good.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you here, my friend.
Same here. Thanks for having me over.
You know what's funny? You and I have been friends for a long time. I don't even know how long, probably 10 years or something. There's not very many people I've been friends with for a long time that haven't been on one of my podcasts. And we were just talking, and I was so certain that you'd been on before, but this is the first time.
Yeah, this is definitely a first time. I've been trying to avoid it. So you got me with this one.
I know you're just a little afraid of the camera, which there's no reason for. You're a rock star, my friend. So hey, excited to have you here. We're going to talk about how to monetize more deals. I know you've added some kind of creative tools and stuff to your tool belt over the last couple of years, and maybe that you weren't using before, and probably a lot of other folks might not be using. But before we jump into that, maybe tell everybody a little bit about your background and how you found your way into real estate investing. You're one of those guys that's a serial entrepreneur, has all kinds of different businesses. Sometimes we joke about it, but just talk about maybe a little bit how you got started in real estate.
That's funny. You call me a monopoly guy, so I love it. Not anymore. But actually, I started real estate in 2001, right about 2000, 2001. So I started into residential, then I went back to commercial. I bought and sold a lot of businesses. I bought a lot of commercial, then I went into retail. I would start getting into a convenience stores business that I had about 14 of them. Then I felt like I lost my heart in it. I had a residential business, like where I was building a little bit of rental portfolio. And I felt like I enjoy this when I turn these properties into really beautiful after they get done. And then that's how I start. So like, you know what, let me just start selling this retail. I'm done with this. Everybody felt like stealing from me. And I got out of there and then start doing flips and wholesale. And we've been doing buy and hold. I think 2007 and 8, that's where I took my kind of next level on real estate. When we were buying 25, 30 cents on a dollar. And that's where we expanded our rental portfolio from about, I'll say we had about 7 or 8, and then I took it to 90. So that's something we've been keep increasing slowly.
Yeah.
Other than that, like I think we right at about 2009, I built a small team. Then I got distracted and stopped building businesses again. Shiny object, syndrome. Like then I built about 7 or 8 businesses. Went back and realized this is not what I want to do. Then I liquidated most of them back to residential. And now from last 3 years ago, I joined and met you about the Investor Fuel. And I think I was literally giving up that time. Like, man, I'm tired of it. Don't want to do it. And I remember you made the comment, why not just leave it? Just do what other things working for you. Get back into retail. It's like, man, I don't want to be a failure. And here we with the team of almost 15 people in the last 3 years. And I give some of the credit to Investor Fuel on that. That just giving motivation and seeing how others doing it. You always been a great friend and, kind of helpful on that part.
Yeah.
Now we do about $250,000 a month. That's where we at. And we are increasing it this year. We are doing more. But we were given, I've been doing a lot of these deals before as far as creative finance, owner finance, but never took it very seriously about it. Never kind of make that into a business as a tool.
Right.
But now since last year, I think it just took our business definitely to a next level.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about these, and we'll kind of dive into each one, some of the main ones you're doing. And I know one of the things that you've done, we'll talk about some creative finance techniques and creative deals, is that you kind of brought you have a brokerage now, right? Or you're just under a broker. I can't remember.
No, no, we are under a brokerage here,
Okay.
but
But you started doing a lot more of your own listings, and you know, a lot of investors, and me included, like I just didn't want to fool with it because I didn't think it was that big of an opportunity. But you turned it into a pretty significant opportunity by listing your own houses and turning some deals that you can't do anything else with into listings, right?
correct. I mean, this was one of the revenue stream that we were totally ignoring it. That's the leads we can't convert. So the first thing is, what is our business? And that's how we look at it, is they want to sell and we can make it happen.
Right.
So it doesn't matter which avenue they want, we will provide the tool for it. So if they're saying we want to retail and we say, okay, that's not for us. And all we just shifted our mind is like, okay, they want to retail it, let's list it for them. And if anybody's offering them 3%, unless it's a $300,000 house, that's $9,000 putting a property just on an MLS, that we just start giving them discount and say, hey, do you have any agent who's giving you whatever the percentage, we give them 1,000 to 2,000, 3,000, whatever, doesn't matter. We make them comfortable that there is some discount going with us.
Yeah.
And all those leads start turning into a listing. So that's where we it kind of paid almost 35 to 40% of our marketing last year. And our marketing was pretty big last year.
I'm glad you said that, because that's what I think a lot of people need to think about if you want to do this. Now, if you're a one-man band or one-woman show, like you got to be careful you don't get spread too thin. But instead of looking at it as like a revenue source, like look at it as it's reducing your expense. So if you were to take that money and it costs you money to generate that lead that you might list, right? And so what if you just said, well, hey, a byproduct of this is we can make some money on it and plow that back into marketing, and it helps offset that cost. And so, let's just say that I don't know exactly what your advertising budget is now, but if that could feed you $150,000, $200,000 a year in additional revenue, and you could plow that back into your advertising, what's the value of the deals you would get from that, right?
I mean, if you look at it, what is our ROI in our marketing was for last year was roughly about 7 times.
Yeah.
To someone's 8 times. It's like that was pretty big. So imagine if you put $150,000, $200,000 back in, that's a $1.4 million for you.
Right.
So, and that's something you cannot ignore. And it's huge because if you're looking at 15% to 20% in your marketing budget every month on your total revenue, I mean, that's big number which is going to be net in your pocket. If you don't take it back home, at least put it back in your marketing.
Yeah, adds up.
It's a big revenue generation if you look at the right way.
Yep. So let's talk a little bit about owner financing and specifically sellers financing you. And you've done a really good job of convincing people that, maybe even paying them more money in some instances, that instead of a cash buy, they can finance it to you. Let's keep Sub2s a little bit separate from that. But how do you identify somebody that might be willing to owner finance you? And how do you even start that conversation? How do you know to bring that up?
So the first thing I see if the property have enough money, enough equity in the deal.
Right.
And if they have enough equity, we have done 2 ways. We have done owner finance while it's Sub2 as well. So we will merge the both things, and they're holding the note while we having a mortgage,
Sure.
the balance. We have done where we see the property's paid off, and we will just go ahead and turn into owner finance by just asking what you plan with the money. If they don't have any plan for the whole amount, what they're getting, we want to use that money towards our business. That way we can hold the property, we can fix the property and sell it, and offer our sellers almost, 5 to 10 grand extra on their deal. I mean, it's easy that we're not paying any points, we're not paying any money. I mean, you're just getting money from the seller, and they're happy because now they got extra 5 grand out of it.
Right.
I mean, last year,
for a typical seller is a lot of money, right? For sure. I mean, $5,000 is $5,000. I'm not saying it's not a lot of money, but for sellers that aren't walking away with a lot of money, sometimes like that $5,000 is a big deal. Can be.
It is, because a lot of time you ask them, hey, what is your next, like the way I was telling you earlier, we just got a deal that we picked up for 151. My acquisition lock it for 151, stating this is going to be straight cash deal. Here I see they have no mortgage. I go and meet the seller as a inspection excuse, and I go back and I talk to them. I was like, what you guys are planning, what you're doing? And they share with me, like, and I asked them, what is your biggest expense while you're moving? They said, my moving is $5,000. Like, what if it's paid by us? They said, how's that possible? I said, we can do it if we don't have to pay you all up front. It'll just save us money. It'll help you guys. And it's like, wow, we've been stressing out about putting that 5,000 just towards the moving. And here we got a deal for 151. We retail for 405. And by just $5,000 giving them extra for upfront, and this came in our office, we signed a contract, we changed the contract to owner finance, and we just did add addendum to it.
Yeah.
And kept the same contract. So we never changed our contract. We just changed addendums, and we just add addendum to it, and hand them a $5,000. They were super excited. They were like, it's like, we would love to give you a testimonial once we get our final money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then,
So tell me about this, because this is a challenge for a lot of folks. If you have acquisitions agents or managers that are going out buying deals for you, how do you, in that instance, you got it under contract for a cash, an amount to pay cash, and then you went back and kind of renegotiated to pay them more, which is, the opposite of what a lot of people, when they renegotiate, do. But do you give your acquisition managers like authority to get creative? That's one of the challenges I've always had. I know a lot of people do, is how do you allow effectively your sales people to get creative on stuff when it might not be the best decision for you? Because it's like a case by case basis, right? There, some instances you would have preferred to get that for cash. Sometimes they may have missed a deal that they could have used creative finance on. So how do you balance that, giving them the flexibility to have those tools and make the best decisions on your behalf?
I just actually got a call from acquisition right before talking to you. And so they know if this doesn't fit in our cash buy model, it's going. So the mindset, it's all about mindset, as you know.
Right.
So end of the day, when you make your acquisition mindset saying, hey, do you want to convert this deal, right? You say, yes, whatever it takes. We have a lot of different options. We can do that. So if it doesn't fit in a cash buy, what we going to do? Do you want to let it go? They said, no, of course I want to close the deal. Okay, then these are the options we have for the seller, and try to offer them these two options. If they're not meeting, like yesterday, we had somebody who was looking for 280 and then they only owe 135. So we made the deal by saying, we're going to give you $5,000 up front, and then the 270, actually 285, and the 280 will be getting after we sell the property. So they're holding a 135, and my acquisition is super excited that he can make the deal, because now we're giving them extra $20,000 because we don't have buying costs, holding costs. We're probably going to put into a novation agreement. That was my plan on that one.
Yeah.
So you put it on novation, and now you don't have a lot of closing costs, buying costs, holding costs, and all goes back to the seller, and you still have a right to sell the property, because every dollar, you don't want to put a dollar in any property you don't have any rights to it.
Right.
And we definitely do title searches. We do all our due diligence to make sure we're not going to get burned ourselves later on.
There's not some other expense lurking out there that you didn't know about. Yeah.
It stays in our contract that all that money will change hand after doing the basics, our due diligence, all our basic inspection, because if my acquisition missed something, I want to make sure we are covered.
Yeah. And I guess where this comes down to, like, setting the expectation with a seller that we want to help you. We don't know exactly how we can help you yet, but if you do a good job of building rapport and you come back with like a plan B or a plan C, they're probably more open to having those conversations because they trust that you're trying to find some way to help them get rid of the property, right?
I think it's all about, I tell everybody, hey, it's a report. Bottom line, that's what's, if they trust you, they're going to go with you. And then you give them that first option doesn't work, they will go with the second or third because they like you, they want to do business with you. And I think the one big thing we have is that always work for us is our credibility kit, in a way that it actually shows who we are, what we do. We have a local office. We have a sign outside on our office that's really kind of, people start believing we are local. They can come to our office. They can meet our team anytime, 6 days a week. They knock on the door, somebody will be here.
Right.
I think the credibility kit is something we don't really uh, put a lot of mind to it, but it definitely work. And I always tell people, like, send it before your appointment and build that trust, build that rapport. They will go with those options and give you Sub2 creative finance, because now they know that these people are not going to disappear with our money.
Right, right. Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about one of the things that you can do in your market that a lot of markets can't. I don't want to tell people to give you kind of legal advice here, but you're able to assign stuff on the MLS. So you get a deal under contract and you can effectively, before you close on it, mark it on the MLS, right?
Correct. I think since we changed that and start putting on MLS, we were putting partial deal on MLS. And it's funny that I never told you, but that's something you mentioned it in one of the meetings with me. And he said, "Hey, we throw everything on MLS." Something, or somebody put something, you made a comment about throwing on MLS makes more money. It's like, yes. Then we did, the numbers came back from the investor fuel. And I was like, yeah, if I look back on all the deals we put on MLS, it was always a higher dollar.
Yeah.
And that changed, I think, about $8,000 to $9,000 average deal throughout the whole, across the board in our whole business.
That's an additional 8 or 9,000.
Additional 8 to 9
Oh,
average
man.
deal change.
What was my royalty on
I
that?
was about to say, you're going to pass the percentage.
No, that's what we're all about, right? Sometimes you can do some really little
Yeah,
things.
one little nugget changed the whole business model.
Yeah. Yeah. What I said is we don't assign things on the MLS here, but many years back, I just got tired of just the drama with assignments, and I had access to capital, or we had access to capital to take pretty much any deal down. So it was just so much easier, because in the DFW area, the market is on fire right now. I'll be honest, in 2008 and 9, the market was down, but we still sold our houses. They were never on the MLS for more than a week, just because we positioned it that way. We, like, either price wise or quality wise, we were always like next in line, And so once I kind of figured that out, and then it's like, okay, well, I can just wholesale on the MLS or wholesale on the MLS. And you and I have a common friend, I won't say any names here, that used to do these like neighborhood campaigns where they like have a carnival in the neighborhood and try to bring in people to basically pay retail price for a wholesale deal, because you're not going after the professional investor. You're going after, somebody that might want to fix it up themselves or be willing to do the work. And then we did that for a while, and that was so much effort like, I don't want to have a carnival, have sign spinners and a bunch of balloons and stuff at a house on a weekend. Like, I want to enjoy my life. And I was like, why don't we just put it on the MLS? And so we just started putting everything on the MLS, and it just attracted the type of investor that we didn't have on our list, and somebody that was willing to pay more. And we have some additional holding costs, but it more than offset that easily. And so we're like, okay, this is the way.
Totally agree. There's no doubt about that. I mean, we actually selling our assignments. As that's what you just said,
Right.
on MLS. So everything, as long as it's done right, and you tell everything truth to your seller, like everything is, whatever you're telling is no lies, no games.
Right.
I mean, it's easy. You can do it. Yes, it's more work, but I think especially for a lot of our investors, like, doesn't have a lot of capital lined up, I mean, you can't beat it.
Oh, it's the best of both worlds. You're getting a higher sales price, and you don't have those additional holding costs. Yeah.
Correct.
If you can do it. Yeah.
Right.
So check with your local board of realtors or whatever. I know that's,
if you can do it, definitely.
In some areas it's like absolutely not. In some areas it's a gray area. In some areas, so like, as long as the seller knows everything. I mean, I think sometimes, don't take legal advice from me, guys, but sometimes you can also do it if you just get a listing agreement as well. And you kind of have in your contract that you have the right to list it on the MLS. So everywhere's a little bit different.
Yeah, our contracts state that, actually, in a marketing clause, it states that we will be listing on MLS. We have a right to market on every avenue we want to. And we tell the sellers up front, hey, we want to see how fast we can move this property. We're not going to buy and live in it. So we will market this property just to see what kind of response we get.
Right.
And they understand that. And we will make sure, like we state in our listings, that the showings is only by appointment. Do not go knock on the doors or anything. We let the seller know if you find somebody come in, or they just directly tell them, hey, call us.
Right.
And our TC is pretty strong. They stay in touch right away. They stay on the whole game entire time. So she's good at it.
Yep. Awesome. And so are you doing anything differently? We talked a little bit about, owner financing to you, and sometimes it's
it's a sub 2 plus the owner's financing, like a second lien or whatever. Do you do anything different with sub 2s? I mean, I think in one of the benefits, obviously, right now is that there's a ton of mortgages out there with super low interest rates that if you can buy the house sub 2, you can benefit from. So, is there anything you do differently with sub 2s that's kind of unique, or that you do differently than what maybe the way you used to do it?
I think right now the sub two, we just basically do the very simple way. That way my office doesn't, I used to do it so many different ways. And when I see I have a team and people, you got to keep it simple for them. So we made it very simple. Hey, we just taken over the mortgage. We'll make the payment. Wherever we see the deal is tight, we make the seller make the payment until house is sold. But other than that, we try to see if we can just take over, make the payments for the seller until it's sold. We do, fix it up and sell it. We don't really, we have few that sub two deals that we are got put it on our rental portfolio, but then we're trying to do it within a 12 months time and refi and let the seller release out of it.
I see.
You don't have anything.
One of the things I think you do a lot more of is a lot of folks do sub 2s and they keep it as a rental, or they wrap it and owner finance it. And you're doing a lot more just using that opportunity to rehab it and resell it. And so it's really just for a few short months, I guess,
Yeah.
right?
I'll say 3 months to 12 months is our max sub two. That's what we do. But I know there's a lot of people who wrap, a lot of do owner finance. There's so many different ways. I mean, you can do as many things you want,
Right.
but it's only if you're doing a small operation and that's what you want to do, and you are involved with every little deal that you sell.
Right.
If you have acquisition team, you have disposition team, you have a whole staff, they will be all mixed up in this, and it's you're gonna make the chaos in your
Always the
office.
challenge. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, Roy, I've always appreciated you, my friend. You've always been, I don't want to say loyal. I appreciate your loyalty. You've always been, always had kind things to say about us and what we do. And you've been an amazing member of Investor Fuel. I think you've been in, we're coming up on 4 years now. I think you were in after like the second or third meeting. So
I was the second meeting.
yeah. So it's been, 3.5 years anyway. And so, would you mind? I mean, you've seen us change a lot during that time. I've seen you change a lot during that time. And I know that early on in this show that you owe a lot of it to Investor Fuel. I mean, I appreciate the kind words, but you've obviously done a lot of hard work and a lot of work on yourself too, to be able to bring on a team. And I know you used to take on almost all this stuff yourself. And so you've really grown as a business owner as well. But would you mind just kind of sharing your experience in Investor Fuel and how it's maybe benefited you?
I think Investor Fuel is more, what it gave me is opened my mind a little bit towards making this into a business. I always run this as 5 businesses and real estate is on a side gig for me. Yes, I made a ton of money. I've been very successful in all my career in real estate, but Investor Fuel, what it did is actually open up my mind and let the other businesses go and turn this into a true business. Like, since I got Investor Fuel, I bought an office building. Like, that was never been a plan. That is actually, we have a sign outside that says American Fast Home Buyers. We have a logo, we have things, we have brand that we are building right now. And I think that I give a lot of this credit to Investor Fuel and to you too, of course. I mean, I don't say the nice things because I like Mike. I say because you really provide all this value. I mean, it is, this is a very lonely business. That's another big thing I see. I mean, I can't go and say to people, hey, I did this month. In Investor Fuel, I can. And I feel like other people cherish and be happy about you because it motivate them and they motivate me. So it's all hands on hands. And whenever we feel down, I have somewhere to go to cry, because, and when I'm feeling good about it, I have somewhere to go and brag about it. I think otherwise I can't do with my local friends because this is not norm in our business. And another thing, at Investor Fuel gave me Shannon. With my CEO, she's helping a lot. I mean, she turned this into a true company for me because I'm not a people person in a way. I'm like, hey, great, get the job done, get out of my way. So she's kind of have that thread where all the pros we bring in our team that just, she's keeping them.
Yeah, thank you, Roy. I appreciate that.
I think Investor Fuel.
One of the things that I want to point out is that you said, if I'm down, I can go kind of cry somewhere. I know you're using that figuratively, but I mean, I'll say this is that I think one of the things that we're different than some other groups that are out there, I'm not going to bash any other groups, but that we have a place for people to kind of get vulnerable and be real, right? I think some of the other groups, it's more ego driven. You would never admit if you're having a bad month or a bad year or a bad relationship or anywhere. Here, people like open up more, right? And they share more of what's going on. And it's because, let's face it, we're all in this business to build a better life. And if your life is not stable right now, like, we need to talk about that, because, the business doesn't work without the lifestyle side and being real, right?
I agree, because you actually, one thing I noticed is in this whole 3 years, I built some of the friends, they're like lifetime.
Yeah.
Like you, Jason, Todd, Blake. There's so many different people that I hang out with and I talk to them all the time. It's like Jerry's like, there's so many, I can go on and on. So many people that you feel like you make best friend because they think the same way, they talk the same game, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, I'll say this. I have one of my very best friends outside of real estate, somebody that I was, was in college with. We got together a couple of weeks back, and you would never sit, he has I'm not, if this guy's listening, I'm not saying anything bad about him at all, other than he has a regular job. And I was like, we talked about, we're going to Cabo. I'm taking like 20 Investor Fuel people to Cabo. I said, why don't you come with us? I mean, you don't know any of these people, but you're my friend, and these are my friends. And so he's like, oh, I only get, he only gets 2 weeks of vacation a year. And you can't just like take off like we maybe can, and you would never sit there with your neighbors and say, hey, I'm doing 250,000 a month in revenue, and have those conversations. I mean, like you said, it's kind of a lonely world outside of our circle, because you don't sit down to your neighbors and talk about that type of stuff. It would seem like you're bragging,
but you're just talking what you do.
Yeah, it's just, you're just talking about what you do, but you can't have those conversations with neighbors and family friends, or your kids' friends, parents, and all those things. So that's one of the benefits, I think, of our group, is we can have real conversations about what's going on and how do we improve and all those things. So
it's more like family, like you look forward for it. You meet everybody, you feel the warmness, you feel like everybody's here for each other.
Yeah.
You ask anybody anything, they open up to you. They're not ignoring you. It's not, this is the one thing you find in this group, that you reach out to anybody, they're not going to brush you off. They will give their time and make sure that you get, and they will tell you, hey, if you need more, let me know. I'll email you this. Anytime you have a challenge and you have a question, you want to know, hey, anybody know this? If they really know, you got to answer from one, not two, not three. You got tens of people who jump right on and give you an answer of your challenge that you're facing in your business.
Right.
Where else you will find that?
Yeah. Roy, I appreciate all the kind words, my friend. We could brag about Investor Fuel all day long.
All day, I agree.
Hey,
maybe I need a couple drinks, I'll do better.
Okay. Hey, if folks want to connect with you, if they're in your your market, if they want to connect with you anyway, where can they connect? How should they reach out to you?
They can reach me on my email, which is roy.affhomebuyers with s@gmail.com. And
Okay.
it's also roy.affhomebuyer.com. That's two.
Okay, awesome. And that's great. We'll add the link down below in the show notes here. So Roy, great to see you, my friend. Thanks for sharing some time with us today.
Thank you, Mike. This is my first podcast. I'll remember for life.
Yeah. We'll get you on some more.
Thank you.
Awesome. And everybody, hey, thanks for joining us today. Hope you got some value out of this. If you're not trying to find, right now, lead generation is hard. Finding good deals is hard. When you do find them, they tend to be more profitable than ever. And also, if you use some of the strategies that Roy talked about today, in terms of whether it's creative finance or turning deals into listings, if you have to kind of offset your costs there, those are the types of things you need to be doing in this market to be a little more scrappy. The market will shift eventually, but this is how you kind of not just survive, but thrive in a market like we're in today. So appreciate you guys a bunch. If you haven't yet checked out Investor Fuel, I encourage you to go to investorfuel.com, learn a little bit more about our mastermind, see if you might be a fit. We have several different groups, including now commercial groups, where we work with commercial real estate investors, apartment investors as well. And that's through a partnership with my friend Corey Peterson. So go to investorfuel.com. You can learn more. If it looks like it's a fit, we'd love to jump on the phone with you and answer some of your questions. So everybody have a great day. Thanks for spending time with us today. We'll see you next time.
Are you an active real estate investor? If so, and you want to latch on to the power of surrounding yourself with over 100 of the nation's leading real estate investors, all committed to building stronger businesses and living richer, fuller lives, you should jump on a call with us to learn more about Investor Fuel. Simply visit investorfuel.com to get started.